Hi guys, it's Drew from Card of My Eye. Today I'm going to show you 6 distressing techniques to enhance your papers using Tim Holtz distress inks. The first technique is the watercolor ink technique, and it looks something like this. The picture is it didn't really enhance the color, but first you're going to start off with an acrylic block, and I'm using some peeled paint distress ink, and I'm just dabbing it on my block. Then I'm using some faded jean distress ink, and dabbing that on the block as well as some scattered straw distress ink. And after I have all of them on there, that's my 3.5 inch by 3.5 inch piece of paper I'm using. I'm going to take a water spritzer and spritz it until you get droplets of color on your thing, so it takes a little squirt, and then you're going to add your paper, and you can do this with big sheets, and you're just going to keep on distressing it in there, and just keep on moving it around on top and get it in all the splotches of color, and you could repeat this multiple times to get a layered effect as well. But this is basically what that technique looks like, and so that's a really fun one. The next technique is the Homeade Distressed pattern paper, and I love the look of this. This is a pattern paper I'll be showing you, and these are all Tim Holtz stamps. First I'm starting off with a 3.5 inch by 3.5 inch piece of cardstock, and I am using a clear stamp, and it's a diamond pattern, and I have it on a clear block, and I'm going to create my own background pattern. And I'm using some scattered straw ink, and I'm just dipping that in the ink, and I'm just going to create an argyle background all the way across my piece of paper. So you're just going to do that all the way across the piece of paper using that stamp. And it's really nice because it is a complete pattern, and you can see I messed up there, but I kind of fixed it by going over the top of it. And so I have my completed image with the diamonds going all the way across to the argyle looking image. And next I'm going to use the ink spreading tool, and I'm going to use some vintage photo ink from Tim Holtz. Oh, I'm sorry, the tea dye ink, sorry about that. And I'm just rubbing the tea dye ink over the top of the completed image. And this kind of has a rosy look to it. I love the color, the tea dye color. And I just love the way it spreads on there. So I kind of distressed it more in the middle, but I'm kind of adding a little bit more onto there as well. Now I am using a stamp from the Urban Grunge stamp set from Tim Holtz, and I'm using some vintage photo ink, and I'm just stamping that all the way down my image, and it's a script stamp. And I love this stamp. It's so vintage looking, and it just adds a nice texture to your paper. So I stamped that all the way down in a continuous looking pattern, and now what I'm doing is I am taking, in a minute, you'll see it in a second, I'm taking some clocks, and these are from various stamp sets. I know one's the Life's Journey stamp set, and I'm not sure what the other one is. But they're two different clocks, and I'm going to stamp those on here to give it kind of a pattern on there. And I'm using the black soot distress ink to do that. So as you can see, I'm using the black soot, and I'm just stamping the little clock, and I'm just stamping it randomly on my paper. And this is just you're basically adding layers of stamped images, and I really love the outcome of the pattern paper, and there's so many different stamps you could use to make your own pattern paper, so their possibilities are really endless. So that's a really fun technique. The next technique is a water spot distressing, and I love the look of this. As you can see, the water spots are trickling all over your paper. They're really pretty. You're going to use another 3.5 by 3.5 inch piece of paper and some walnut stain ink, and I'm just taking my little pad off the back. I keep some Velcro underneath it, and I'm just going to cover my paper with that walnut stain ink, just going all over the top of that. And next I'm going to use a different color, and I'm using the aged mahogany, and this is a really pretty pinky purple color, and I'm just adding that highly distressed on there as well. So after you have covered your paper in your inks, and you can use whatever color inks you'd like, I have a big stiffle brush here, and as well as a water bottle. If you could see it there, I just keep a water bottle, and I'm dipping my stiffle brush down into the bottom of the water bottle. And when I first start it, I kind of splotch on a huge chunk, but then it kind of gets very lighter, and you're just going to tap it against your image, and it's just going to splotch on your image. It's really pretty, and as you can see, I'm ironing it there, so that adds a nice effect, and you can see how nice the outcome is because distress ink does react. Now I'm doing a wrinkled glimmered watercolor distressed paper, and this is what it looks like. It's really pretty, glimmery, and it's a nice texture. First, I'm starting off with another 3.5 by 3.5 inch square, and I'm crinkling it up in various ways to get a nice texture on my paper. Then I'm using the aged mahogany ink again, and I'm just rubbing that all over the top of the wrinkles, and it's just going to pick up your ink. And that's going to lay all over the top of your paper. Then I'm using some Latte Glimmer Mist by Tattered Angels, and I'm highly spraying that on because I want it to kind of blend with my paper. And if you add water, it does react with the distress ink, so it will run all over your paper, which is a nice effect. I'm just kind of splotching it down to get some extra ink off there, and then I'm going to iron the top of it, and that will give you a smooth finish, and it just adds a nice texture to the background, but not onto your paper. So that's a really nice technique, and there's so many different colors of ink you could do that with. The next technique is a faux leather paper, and I love the way the leather, it looks actually like leather. It looks really nice, and this is a really easy technique. You're just going to need your piece of paper that you're using, and so I'm using the Walnut Stain Distressing Ink by Tim Holtz, and I'm just going to highly distress this paper with the ink, and I'm going to rub my ink tool in various ways to get a nice covered coating of ink. So I'm kind of twisting it around, and you can see how it gives you a nice coating of the ink, and it kind of looks like your paper looks like leather. I really like that. The next is a camouflage bubble technique, and this is so much fun, and you use the alcohol inks by Ranger. And this technique starts off with a 3.5 inch by 3.5 inch piece of paper, and I'm using the lettuce, caramel, and lake mist Adirondack alcohol inks, and I'm just blotching on the lettuce, just kind of spraying it on there in various ways. And the alcohol ink does dry really fast because it is an alcohol-based product. So then I'm adding the lake mist, and I'm just kind of splotching that everywhere as well, and that's just going to go all over the top of your paper. So as you can see, I just have some different colors, and then I'm using the caramel to kind of fill in the white spots on my paper. So I'm kind of dabbing it in the white spots and painting in different sections, and it will run a little bit. And so I just sprayed that everywhere, and I'm going to wait for that to dry a little bit, but it doesn't take long. And then I'm using some vintage photo ink, and I'm just going to ink over the top of that, and just going to ink in the white spots that were left behind. So just inking all over those white spots there, and you're going to see that you're going to have a really nice camouflage look. And you could leave it just like this if you want a camouflage look, but I'm using the blending solution from Ranger, and I'm just kind of blotching it off, and it will pull the color out of the paper and kind of lighten it around the edges, but keep the color in the middle. And I love it. It looks like some really nicely distressed bubbles. So that is what that paper looks like, and that's a really neat, fun, distressed paper there. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope that taught you some different ways to use a Tim Holtz Distress Ink. Please visit my blog at cardofmyeye.blogspot.com, and have a great day. Bye, everybody.